doing this video here for a specific trade ideas user, but perhaps other people will stumble across it and find it useful as well. So, had someone asking about trying to find stocks that have made, move like this. They fall and a bounce to try to short that bounce. Of course, we can interpret this a lot of ways, and someone might be trying to look for something that bounces and still continues as well. So, no one way to cut this up. But a few thoughts on this, how I would go about something like this using trade ideas technology. All right, so what was given to me was GLS here for this example from February 18th of 2022. All right, and so the first thing that I'm thinking about here is, all right, we can't be obviously making a new high on the day. We passed the high on the day. But we got to be moving up. So how do we find something moving up? Well, we have a few different alerts that can do that. So here's an alert window I created that's going to find this right now. Now there's going to be some things that are similar to what was shown to me and on this chart, but also that don't coincide with the exact numbers, because I was asked about a 10% pullback, and this is much more than a 10% pullback. You're looking at over a 50% pullback mostly here. So, these things are going to be relative to stock price. We have a stock that came from, below $2 and shot almost up to $5. So you're talking about over 100% move at one point. And so if you move up 100% and take that back, that's a lot more than 10%. So take more than half that back, it's a lot more 10%. But I think everybody will get the idea behind this exercise here, what I'm looking at. So if we right click and we come into configure of any scan, all right, with alert windows, the trip can be finding that alert, that catalyst here. So my go-to a lot of times for these kinds of things is these 5-minute, these 5-minute highs and lows. So I've selected both of these here for this exercise trying to find this, all right? And where I came up with the idea to use these two is, one, I'm trying to find stuff that is not making a new high of the day and it's moving back up like we're seeing here. Second, I use what we call our stocks like this page. All right, so I want to bring that up for those that aren't familiar with our stocks like this page. It doesn't have as much historical data as the rest of our scanning does, but it can still be useful when you're looking at things relatively close in time here to the present time. So if you're on our home page, look for support. All right, and you're going to scroll down to traders area, and you're going to find stocks like this. All right, and in this exercise we're looking at GLS. Okay, so that's what we're choosing here, GLS. All right, and we want Friday, February 18th, and we want to look at around, let's say, somewhere around this 10:15ish, give or take, and we can open up the window, but for this exercise I'm going to go with this here, 10:15 Eastern time for me because I'm in New York. And you can have a snapshot of 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 60 minutes. All right, we're going to go with the 5-minute snapshot on this here. And essentially what this is going to do, when I hit submit, it's now going to return me over this 5-minute span of time, from starting at 10:15 and moving to 10:20 Eastern time, every alert that was met. So I know that a 5-minute low was done during this time. All right, these are every alert that was met, and this is how we can back engineer a scan here. All right, and then if we scroll down, I can see what all the different price or volume percent today, all these different items. I can see what the metrics were in these filters for minimum and maximum value, again helping me back engineer. So when I come down here and I look at, let's say, position and range for the day, all right, here's our position and range for today. We can see that at this time in this candle here, around this candle here, that we had made a massive pullback of position and range. We had made these massive pullbacks off the highs right here. So we're not a 10% pullback. We're at a 40% pullback, in between a 40 and almost 60% pullback on this specific example here. So again, you'll have to define what you really want that pullback to be. It's going to be relative to what the price of the stock that you're looking at and how that chart goes. So this is why, maybe multiple scans like this are going to have to help or have to be implemented. But the idea is to get you pointed in the right direction here, what you're looking for. All right, so now we know that. And we could go through and we could see any of these other metrics too that we may think, an RSI indicator might be something you want to look at for this. Position Bollinger Bands on these different time frames. All right, These are all items that you might want to take a look at for doing this, all right? But so again, in this exercise, I've chosen a 5-minute low. I also threw a 5-minute high in here because, oftentimes a stock could be making that 5-minute high and getting ready to make that pullback as well. So I did both of these in here. And then, look for that position range filter. All right, so position in range, this daily one here, that's what I look for. So I added that, all right, and I gave it a max value of 50 here because we discussed that we had in between a 40 and 60% pullback based on this price action right here that, was being shown in the example that I was looking for. I threw some volume metrics in here that would have met if we went through the stocks like this. So what I want to cover here, so you understand how the volume metrics work, and I can understand how people get tripped up on this. Relative volume is a ratio taken over a 10-day average, but that's relative to a specific stock. So for example, if I have a stock that trades an average of 1 share a day, and today it has now traded 10 shares, okay, that means it's doing 10 times, 100 times, 10 times its normal volume over that 10 days. So I don't want, I want to cut out other noise. So I combine it with a volume today filter. So that's why I put 125,000 shares in here to cut things out that haven't had any action basically today, but are still doing much more action than it's done over the last 10 days. So 3 here being it's doing 3 times what it's normally doing over a 10-day average. And that's how we combined these two filters to try to get what I'm looking for in this. You can combine other volume filters as well to go over some other volume ideas here. And basically all of our volume metrics are taken over 10 days unless otherwise stated. So if we were looking at, this high relative volume, again, that's going to work in a ratio. So if I were to add that here and I add this alert, all right, that ratio, I can put it in here as that ratio and select it as that. And again, it'll be a 10-day average. This 1-minute volume spike is going to work as a ratio as well, and it's going to be a 10-day average of 1-minute volume over 10 days, all right? And to get definitions for these things, there's 2 different definitions for our alerts, all right? So I want to show that next. If we right-click here on, for example, strong volume, and we go to help, all right? That brings me to this page, and this is going to give me a definition of what the actual alert is doing. But if we continue to scroll down past here, we're going to get what the filter part of this is, and this is what the filter part is. That's the filter part of the alert. So we have our regular filters here, and then we have the filter part of the alert. And so we're just going to scroll down, and we're going to come across that any second now. Here, all right? So alert specific filters, and that's where I could come down and I can look at what these things are doing here. Unfortunately, I don't see the 10-day part, but we can see what each of these does, and by giving the filter a value within that here. So just to point you in directions for future scan building, whether it is this specific type of scan or something else. And you can find that with all these different items that are in here, all right? For all these different alerts and how those will work, okay? And so by doing all that right there, that's how we can come across and build something that would have caught what you were looking for. Now, I would say this is probably going to catch a lot more items. And so, of course, that's why you're going to want to go through the filters, use that stocks like this page to kind of back engineer and cut out some of the noise that you're looking at in here. Now in this example here, all right, I've taken this scan and I pointed it directly at GSL. So if I come to symbol list here, this drop down menu, I've chosen single symbol, I put that in here, all right, and history, and I went to time frame and I picked, that specific day. And we could even tighten it up just so we're not looking at, too much time. And let's go with, let's say 11:30 a.m. All right, and we started the day, let's say for the scanning purposes, let's go with 9:45 a.m. on that day, so we can see how that history lined up. And now it gives me that history snapshot for that time period, and all these times it was picking GSL up. And we can see all these shots that it picked it up in here, all right? And so this is where, again, you're going to have to decide other filters to add. But, look, we've got it at a lot of times that we would have wanted trying to find that short idea here, all right? All through these different candles here, all right? 364, up in here, moving on down. So again, this is the idea behind it. I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna save, and then I'll eventually share this with you. Um, we'll call it scan for pullback short here. All right, and as I said, someone that stumbles across this video, odds are this won't exist anymore because I'll have deleted it after I've shared it with this particular person. But you get the idea of how to build this from what I just did. The last thing that I want to show is we can't really compare candles, whether it's volume or price. It's just not something we can do within Trade Ideas, generally speaking. Because if you look, basically everything we do is on a time frame, all right, for our filters, not based on candle technology. Everything, time frame, minutes, using minutes here on these different consolidations and cross resistances. And as we move forward, same thing, range breaks, all based on minutes, not candles, all right? Same thing for all these here. And if we come to the filters, all right, as I mentioned before, these filters right here, every one of these is going to be on a 10-day percent. So, this is taking what the 1 minute average volume is over 10 days on a percent basis, 5 minute, 10 minute, 15 minute, 30 minutes, and so on. And in this case, 100 on any one of these is our baseline, meaning that's normal over the last 10 days. So 200 would be, 2x, all right, and 300 would be 3x, and so on and so forth. So again, these are ways that we can find these volume spikes using these filters, based on that 10-day average essentially. And as we scroll forward, the same idea, our range filters, all these filters are done as percents taken over that period of time, not for candles. All right, so again, these are what we have to work with and what we have for options. However, there is one place that we can turn to, and it goes down some rabbit holes, but I'm going to show this and then everybody can take it from there what they like. All right, so if we come to the stocks like this page again, all right, the idea is I want to get back to our home page. And if we come to our account management, all right, we can come to our custom formulas here. And we want to head to the instruction page. This PDF is an instruction page, so we'll open that in a new tab. All right, and we don't have a code compiler. What you cannot do is just create something that does not exist within the system, but you can take things that exist within the system to compare in that sense. All right, and what I want to do is scroll through this, and anybody that's interested in this can go through this in their own time. You don't need to be a coder to understand it, just some simple C programming language. Here are your standard operations for that. All right, I'm not going to, you folks are welcome to go over this kind of stuff themselves. We don't have someone to teach these things, unfortunately, for you. But what I want to do is show, all right, these are short codes that exist within the system, and these are the codes that we can take, price and last, and here's the definitions of these: most recent close, so yesterday's close or today's close. All right, all these different items that are in here are short codes that exist within the system that we can build formulas for. So here's volume and shares. So V up 1 is how many shares have traded in the last minute, 5 minute, 10, 15, and 30 minutes, so on and so forth. Some different SMA items in here, standard deviation, so on and so forth. Again, peruse through at your own time. For this specific exercise, I want to show how we can kind of compare volume candles. All right, so in this we can compare a stock's volume in the last minute to the same stock's previous 4 minutes. And essentially what we've done is we've taken V up 1, which is your volume of shares traded in 1 minute, divided by this function in here that we've created. So we've taken volume up in the last 5 minutes minus the volume up in the last 1 minute and divided it by 5. All right, this code right here will essentially give us a historical baseline, or using those historical baselines, a comparison of the last 4 minutes. All right, and it goes into description if you want to do this over the last, let's say, 10 minutes. And then we can change the scaling here by doing it in a percent. Okay, so the previous example would use a ratio, essentially 1 being normal, All right. This example here would do it in a percent. Okay. So we're going to do this in a percent for this example. And all you have to do for comparing this like this, copy this code just like this right here. All right. Right click, copy after highlighting. We can come to the formula editor and we're going to go create new. We're going to paste this formula that's right in here. All right. And I can't share this code out with you. You have to do this individually, because if I put this code, it's into my account. You have to do it into your account for it to work. So you'd have to follow and do exactly what I showed here in order to make this work in your account. And we'd call this, volume compare 5 minutes. All right. And the units is shares. All right. And format, we're leaving it just like this. All right. Or, I'm sorry, in this, the units is going to be percent, the way we did it in this one. Right. So let's go back here and look, we copy the code that's going to do this in percent. All right. Versus a ratio. All right. And so we're back in the formula editor and we save that. All right. And we can see, for me, it's going to create it as U8 here as this icon. I have no idea what it'll create it as U as, a U formula for you. It'll be unique to yours. If we save it, there it is. All right, we can see that the code was taken. All right, if there was an error, all right, I'm just going to throw an odd thing in here to make an error. So we just added those. And if I go save, now it's going to tell me error, and it's going to tell me where that error was. So again, I'm going to make the code correct again. Save. Here we go. And I know this video is getting long, but hopefully this will be worth it in the end for you. Now if I come back and I go to account, I'm going to reset my connection. Now I can come to configure. So this is the way we can do the volume comparison that was asked about in the video for me and for anybody else moving forward. If I scroll down and I find here's that U8, there it is. In a percent, I could add that filter. And again, 100 is going to be the baseline. All right. So if I was doing, 200, so on and so forth. So it's going to show me volume has increased as compared to the previous time frame. All right. And again, how did that work? In the instructions. So this will compare a stock's volume in the last minute to the same stock's previous 4 minutes. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's 200 times what it was in the previous 4 minutes over the last minute now. Or again, if I put it here, 5 times with the 500. All right. So that's kind of my workaround. I know there's a lot that was covered in there. Hopefully this video reference will help some people here. Again, I know it's a long way around describing what we were looking for in just this one example. And again, remember, each example is going to be relative to stock price and the position of that stock price and things like that. So you have to ask yourself, a 10% move on this pullback, which was what was asked of me, was only to maybe there or so. All right. What we looked for, what this example shows by this chart, which is what was used as the example, we're looking at a 40 to 60% pullback on that. All right. So remember how it's going to be relative to that. Again, we can go back and go over all these filters. You can come in and look at all these different items. And again, don't forget that Stocks Like This page is your friend to try to get back to items like this. So hopefully that helped. All right. Thank you all for your time, whoever stumbles across this video, and we'll catch you in other videos. All right. Thank you and take care.